condition itself is not enough.
Dear Mr. Massa, I'm just trying to mind my own business. What's the matter? It's just another day, another black king captured. I'm about to lose my brain, stuck inside this ghetto rapture. I got a lot of smoke. If you want it, you can have it. They want a hat trick, but this is black girl magic. Ain't talking about the kind that'll make you disappear, but I'm talking about the power of the melanin within. Ain't looking for trouble, but I'ma say this one time. I put two dukes up if you try to touch mine. We still want justice for Samir and Trayvon. You say you don't see color, but racism ain't blind. They targeting little kids whose skin look just like mine. So I'm paranoid, it's a war zone outside. And I'm a black queen, so if you ask me to step out of my car, you gon' have to snatch me. Cause I ain't going no damn well. Had to spend my whole life living unfair. Ancestors got my back and they right here. You can never understand, it's a nightmare. Living in my black shoes by the black rules. You can keep your handshake, I don't dap coons. The white man to go nuts if he can't shoot. But you all on his side like a damn fool. Make it make sense.
We are oppressed.
Queen.
We are exploited. We are downtrodden.
Make it make
Queen.
We are
sense.
denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyyah.
oppression and exploitation
Queen.
away from us or aside from us is come together
Queen.
against the common enemy. Who taught you to hate the texture of your
Ahmadiyyah.
hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin?
Ahmadiyyah.
Parents, pay attention to the books, the school system, even to your little children. Lies mixed with wisdom. His skin too bright, so he was blind to the prison. My skin just right, so I collide with division. You trying to pray to God, but we tired of religion. No savior saving, we got to save our savings. We used to pay miss, how we gon' make the slave rich? But who's to blame, and tell me why you complaining? We need a team effort just to rule the nation. Like a bad relationship, missing communication. We missing moderation. They're trying to get a poison to my population. No reparations. I'm getting tired of Satan.
We are oppressed.
I'm
Queen.
getting tired of waiting.
We are downtrodden.
Queen.
We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyyah.
oppression and exploitation.
Queen.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your Sunday Vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so already, be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay. Also, I've had about 10 people email me. I've had about 10 people email me since Friday. Okay, and today's only Sunday, mind you. But I've had about 10 people email me and say that YouTube unsubscribed them from the channel. Okay, so please double check and make sure, and it's very important that you double check and make sure that you're still subscribed, okay, or you won't be getting the notifications. You won't know when we go live or any of that. All right, so if you have not been receiving the notifications, please double check to make sure you're still subscribed. With that all being said, hello, Pearly, Perplex is in the house, Christopher, DJ Big Six, G from the land, Juju is here, Anita. All right, let's get into it. We the people. Okay. Rose Girl Pink Disney is here. All right. So shout out to all of my loyal royals and everyone tuning into the Queen. And a big shout out to my moderators, because y'all know they put in work. Okay, so we have a lot to cover. So I'm about to go ahead and get it started. Dario Bird is in the house. All right. The Rhonda, Ma'at Egypt, Buckhorst DC, Pretty Wings. Okay, Emperor Rex. All right, so let's get into it. But first, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes. I see you, Aquarius MC.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. And you can also find it at Walmart.com. And she sells beard oil as well. Okay, so before we get into the Trump news, let's talk about this man who was found, his body was found hanging, and it was on fire. Okay, this is so crazy. This happened about 2 days ago. And as per usual, there is very little information. Okay, very little information. It's very interesting that when people are found hanging, there's not very much information. I just want you all to pay attention to that. And then we hardly ever get any follow-up information. Have you all noticed that? Or is it just the queen? Okay, but let's get into it. I'm going to go to 2 different reports to see if we can get a little bit more from either. All right, here we go.
This morning, a disturbing case from overnight. Homicide detectives are investigating after a body was found burning and hanging from the underside of the 610 loop.
KPRC2 News reporter Brittany Jeffers is joining us live in our newsroom now with what we know about this investigation. Brittany.
Yeah, Owen and Sophia, there is a lot of questions surrounding this case this morning. I've been going through the interview with Houston police. Here's what we know right now. Around 10 o'clock last night, officers say that a Union Pacific Railroad worker called in a fire that was under the North Loop near Wayside. Now, if you take a look at your screen, this is video into our newsroom from overnight. It's very dark, but you can see detectives out there. They're walking around the area with flashlights. When officers arrived, they say they found a man's body hanging from under the underpass. It was partially on fire. They say the victim died, and police noted that there is a homeless encampment near the area. But again, as I mentioned, a lot of questions. And the reason for this, there's no witnesses at this point. So police are trying to determine what led up to this and how that fire was set. Investigators did note that they believe that this was a homicide. However, they're going to have to wait until the autopsy report comes back to determine a cause of death. Of course, we're making calls to try to get more information from detectives as far as who this person is and why this happened. In the meantime, if you have any information, if you were in the area, please contact police.
Okay, so here's what I want you all to pay attention to. I find it very interesting that in this case, when someone's found hanging, they immediately come out and say it's a homicide. They think it's a homicide. Any other time that someone's found hanging, they always say, without doing a bit of an investigation, without collecting a shred of evidence, okay, what do they say? Oh, that the person did it to themselves. Now, why did they say in this case it's likely a homicide? Because it's on fire. Okay, because they know that they can't possibly sit here and tell us all that the person did this to themselves and then set themselves on fire. I mean, but they have told us things that are equally as ignorant, if you ask me. For example, the young man down there in Ferguson, Danye, whose mother was one of the people that started the protest, when he was found hanging from a tree about 20 feet in the air, pants pulled down to his ankles and hands behind his back. How did he do that to himself with his hands behind his back? And why would he pull his pants down to his ankles? What about the other man who was found in his 18-wheeler, hung inside, hands tied behind his back? Okay, and there was markings on the dashboard as though he had been kicking and possibly trying to fight or get away or whatever. All of these times they say that the person did it to themselves, and they know that it makes no sense, but I guess they don't care whether or not we believe it. They're going to say what they want. But in this case, oh, okay, because there was a fire, I guess they said, yeah, we can't use that excuse. And now they're talking about a homicide. Yeah, we'll see how this all turns out. Okay, we'll see how it all turns out. Now, likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. And let's go to this other report. Let me see here. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share my screen. It's taking a minute to load. Give me just a second. Okay, here we go.
Overnight after a man's body was found hanging underneath the East Loop. And we do want to warn you, some of the details in this story are even more disturbing.
Ugochi Loka joining us live from the scene near Kirkpatrick Boulevard. Okay, Ugochi, what do we know?
Well, Jacob and Alona, I've got to tell you, the details, in fact, of this case are rather grim. Right now, we're next to a storage facility, which is close to this spot where a man was found hanging by a rope from the underside of this 610 freeway, all while on fire. Sadly, he did not survive. This is video of officers looking around after HFD responded to a fire here near the 5000 block of Kirkpatrick and 610 just after 10 p.m. last night. Now, it was Union Pacific employees who first found the scene and called Houston firefighters, first reporting this as a brush fire. Officials say when firefighters put out the fire, they realized it was a man's body in flames, dangling by a rope. HPD says those firefighters got the fire out, but the man was already dead. A lieutenant investigating the tragedy says there were no witnesses around when they responded. She describes the location near the fire and how they need the community's help with this case.
It seems that it's a homeless encampment that's here as well, as far as where the fire was set. If anyone has any information regarding this incident, we do urge them to reach out to Crime Stoppers with any information they might have, and the Houston Police Homicide Division.
Just tragic altogether. They're coming up in the next hour. Why police are saying they don't think this was a suicide. In fact, they believe it was a homicide. Reporting live in Northeast Houston, Ugochi Iloka, KHOU 11 News.
Also this morning, we are following.
Okay, so anyway, y'all heard that. So yeah, now they're talking about a homicide. Payo Bunyan said, "Why is she smiling, honey? Your guess is as good as mine." Nene said, "Back to the 1950s we go. It's given Jim Crow." Yes, it absolutely is. And I find it interesting that there has been an uptick. There has been a whole spike, and people being found swinging from things, specifically trees. In most cases, however, this case it was a bridge. But there has been a spike in these things since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, September the 10th. Okay. And we're not getting any answers. They're not solving any of these cases. They're not telling us anything except that the people did it to themselves. Outside of this case, that's what they always say. All right, so anyway, another day in the United States, or shall I say another day in the USA. So let's talk about you all's President Donald Trump. First and foremost, I told you all, I showed you a video maybe a week or so ago when the guy was suggesting that Trump may have had a mini stroke. Okay, now they're saying that he may have had a few mini strokes. And by a few, I would say that likely mean at least 3. That's just my opinion. But look at Trump right here with the mouth drooping. Looks kind of like somebody who may or may not have had a stroke, you know. But also, they're saying some things about his cognitive abilities and his mental decline. Donald Trump is expressing a massive increase in clinical signs of dementia, exasperating the president's malignant narcissism. Now, this is what a psychologist said, and he's entitled to his opinion. Dr. John Gardner told the Daily Beast podcast that the 79-year-old's nonsensical speeches, repeated confusion, and frequent lapses in memory are flashing signs of his immense cognitive decline. The former Johns Hopkins professor said the president's deterioration is only disinhibiting his grandiosity and paranoia, and warned that with the nuclear football in Trump's possession, it's really could be impossible. I'm sorry, it really would be impossible to overstate the grave risk that all of us are at right now. Do y'all hear this? Okay, do you all hear this? This man is, he might be worse off than Biden. Okay, did y'all see his ankles? They look like tree trunks. And that spot on his hand that he keeps trying to hide underneath the other hand whenever he's sitting at the desk at the Oval Office, no less. I absolutely believe that he's in a state of mental decline. I watched a video, on Saturday where he was talking and he was confusing India with Iran. And other than the fact that they both start with an I, I'm not sure how he was confusing them. But I'm going to go to the footage of that. Okay? Lights up, everyone, please like and share. Poor Trump. Poor Trump. Is that what some of y'all are thinking? All right. So anyway, with that all been said, let me pull this up. Where is it? Here it is. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen.
Tariffs are a very important tool for our defense, for our national security. If we don't have tariffs, we're not going to have national security. As an example, if you look at Pakistan and Iran, I told them I was in the midst of negotiating a trade deal with Iran, and Pakistan was going to be in line. And because of tariffs, they all want to negotiate much differently. We're making a good deal. And then I heard that they're shooting at each other. And I said during one of my conversations, are you guys going to go to war? Two nuclear powers. We are thinking about, I said, here's the deal. You go to war, I'm going to put a 200% tariff. I'm going to stop you from doing any business in the United States. I said it to both of them. Within 24 hours, the war ended. That would have been a nuclear war. And again, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, who was here 2 weeks ago, said that man saved many millions of lives in front of a whole group of people because he thought it was going to be war. But when it came to war or having to pay massive tariffs, the tariffs overrode. That's why it's so important. Not only the money, we're taking in trillions of dollars, not only the money, the power to keep peace, the power to be used for good is enormous. But a lot of people didn't understand tariffs. It's also made us very rich, etc.
He said it's also made us very rich. He said it's also made us very rich. It's only making him rich, okay? Because he's doing all of this illegal stuff to get money into his pockets. Right now, he's talking about he has a private donor that's going to be contributing $120 million and all of this. You know, it's really interesting. We're going to get into some stuff about Trump in a second, but first, let's go to Anderson Cooper talking about the questions that people have about Trump's mental fitness, okay, and his bizarre behavior.
Have some major news right now. People are raising serious questions about Donald Trump's mental fitness. This comes after he put out a bizarre overnight post on Truth Social. In the post, he claimed that Jack Smith, Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, and Lisa Monaco, a high-ranking Biden DOJ official, conspired to take the 2020 election from him. But here's the massive problem. None of them were in the Department of Justice during the 2020 election. Donald Trump and his Department of Justice, led by Bill Barr, were in office during the 2020 election. Now, he has gone even further in this Truth Social post, suggesting that these three individuals, Smith, Garland, and Monaco, should be prosecuted. And he didn't stop there. He also wants to prosecute Christopher Wray, the current FBI director who Donald Trump himself appointed. He is trying to prosecute people who had no involvement with the DOJ during the specific time he claims they interfered. This is raising a lot of questions among observers for a couple of big reasons. First, it looks like he is targeting his political opponents. We see that. But second, and maybe more worrying for his supporters, he seems to be completely misremembering who was actually in office at the time. Spread the word. This is important. Follow along for all the news. We have some major.
Okay, they said he seems to be misremembering who's in office at this time. Now, I find that interesting because isn't this all the same stuff that people were saying about poor Biden? Isn't this all the stuff they were saying about Biden? Yeah, it is. Okay, so let's go to this report with former Vice President Kamala Harris. Kamala, and let me just tell you all something, honey. Kamala Harris's book, baby, she's going in on everybody and their mama, okay? I'm talking about the Obamas. She even went in on Tim Walz. Do y'all hear this? She went in on everybody, okay? We'll talk about that at another day, but I find it all interesting. I know all of these people are mad at Kamala, and she doesn't seem to give a darn. I may do a reading of the book online if you all want me to. Okay, so with that all being said, let's go to this video of her talking trash about Trump.
That have capitulated since day one, who are bending the knee at the foot of a tyrant.
In the campaign, you said Donald Trump was a fascist. Do you think he's running a fascist authoritarian government?
I was asked if he was a fascist, and I said yes. And the reason is that I look at what is happening right now. And again, it is what I predicted. He said he would weaponize the Department of Justice. He has done exactly that. He has used the United States Department of Justice, which should be an independent agency that makes decisions based on fact and law and not personal vengeance of the President of the United States. You look at what has happened in terms of how he has weaponized, for example, the federal agencies around going after political satirists who his skin is so thin, he couldn't endure criticism from a joke and attempted to shut down an entire media organization in the process.
And you are critical of billionaires and other institutions bowing down, capitulation.
There are not all, but there are many that have capitulated since day one, who are bending the knee at the foot of a tyrant, I believe for many reasons, including they want to be next to power, because they want to perhaps have a merger approved or avoid an investigation. And it is a crying shame. There are many.
Let me tell you all something. Kamala is absolutely right. Kamala is absolutely right. Now, I don't agree with everything she says, but in this case, I absolutely do. Okay, there are people who are bending the knee, and I want you all to pay attention because you all already heard that here first. Okay, once in the chat, if you remember, because I know y'all do, me telling you the exact same thing, that these people are allowing Trump to do all the dirt that he's doing because they're getting their pockets, their palms greased too. They're getting money in their bank accounts. These people are complicit. They're all corrupt, in my opinion. Okay, at the end of the day, why is no one doing anything to stop him? That is because they're all benefiting. Okay, this just isn't the Republicans. Some of these Democrats are benefiting too. Why hasn't anyone, come out? They said they weren't going to impeach him this time. They're going to use Article 2. Well, when are they going to use it? We're all waiting. Let's do something. Get it done. This man is destroying the country from the inside out. Okay, he's doing a bunch of illegal things. And here's the thing. If you all think that Trump's going to be leaving office in 2028, you've another thing coming. Trump is not going to willfully leave at all. They will have to drag him out of there, if anything, kicking and screaming. And let me tell you what he's going to do. And here's how you know, because I told you all days ago that Trump would not be spending $300 million, actually $250 million. He raised $300 million. $250 million is supposed to go to the structuring of the new ballroom that he's building. And then they asked, what is he going to do? They asked, what is he going to do with the other $50 million that's left? Well, that's likely going to go in his bank account. Okay, but here's the thing. I told you all days ago that this man, he wouldn't be spending all this money to build this ballroom and talking about naming it after himself if he was thinking about packing up his stuff and leaving after his term is up. And they've already come out and said that basically Trump's likely not going to go anywhere. Okay, that's what they have said. Now, mind you, Steve Bannon came out and said that Trump plans to run for a third term. Okay? He said Trump plans to run for a third term and that they've got people, they're funding it, and it's almost ready to go. That's what he said. Now, what do you think Trump's going to do? Start a war so he doesn't have to leave? Override Congress? Just tear up the Constitution, throw it in the trash? He probably has already done that from the looks of it. But anyway, here's something else he's done. The National Guard Response Force, okay, they're going to have the National Guard Response Force trained in civil unrest, ready to deploy to all 50 states by 2026. Okay, they're going to have poll watchers in 2 blue states, none in the red states, mind you, and this is for the elections, okay? For New Jersey and California, and representatives call it highly inappropriate. And then, some people think, myself included, that Trump may just be plotting to call fake fraud, lies, say it was stolen if he doesn't win the election. Because, he's not going to win, right? If we have an election, he's not going to win. There is no way he's going to win. Everybody is pissed at this man right now, even MAGA. Well, some of them. So with that all being said, he's likely plotting to come out with the same BS and say, oh, they're cheating. No, they did this. It's fake. It's fraud. I'm the winner. I'm the one. And then get the FBI and the DOJ to go along with it. See, that is what's the problem. And just like Kamala said, bending the knee, of course these people are bending the knee. Trump has basically given them unchecked power. They're allowed to do whatever he tells them they can do, whether they're supposed to do it or not. And at the end of the day, we already see that he doesn't give a darn about people being qualified. Okay? So look at Lindsey Halligan. Look at Kash Patel. None of these people are qualified for the positions that they now hold. Okay? Pam Bondi, I don't think she's qualified either. All of these people are liars and complicit. And at the end of the day, let's not forget Rockbridge. Okay, the Rockbridge Network, that whole thing that J.D. Vance came up with in 2019, and all those billionaires who are tied to that and affiliated with it, and how they've already been making plans since at least 2019. What do you think they're up to? Okay? What do you think they're up to? Trump's not planning on going anywhere. He is doing a whole lot. Let me tell you something. Trump feels like he doesn't need congressional approval to declare war because he came out and said it. He said he doesn't need congressional approval to declare war and to go to Venezuela and indiscriminately bomb facilities. He thinks any facility that he thinks is making illegal substances in Venezuela, he thinks he can just go over there and indiscriminately bomb them. Okay, without Congress giving him the okay. He also doesn't think he needs congressional approval to just kill people over there. He says, this is what he said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said something along the lines of, we won't declare war. I think we'll just kill people we think are bringing rugs into the country. Okay? And then, like I told, all of this is supposed to go by Congress. When there's supposed to be a declaration of war, Congress is supposed to be in on that. All right? And then they're supposed to be in control of the purse. But Trump's in control of it. Talking about he has a rich donor that gave $130 million. Okay? And so it looks to me like Trump has taken congressional authority and power and then just given that to the executive branch, i.e. himself, because he's just doing whatever he wants. I mean, and the fact that he's killing these people in these boats, have these people, bombed or whatever, and then come to find out they did say that one of those people at least was a fisherman from Trinidad whose boat was disabled. I believe something was wrong with the engine, if I'm not mistaken. And he's just doing this with no approval, no intelligence is as needed. And I'm not talking about the intelligence in his brain, because we know he doesn't have any of that sort of intelligence. But I'm talking about intelligence as far as, military personnel and things of that, or congressional approval or any of those things, or without knowing having the inside information, being able to know conclusively before having those people bombed, those boats bombed. He doesn't have any proof conclusively. He has not been given any intelligence. And if he has, he hasn't been transparent and shown it to the public that he knows these people are smugglers, that he knows these people are up to no good and that they're doing dirt, that they're bringing illegal substances from one place to another. He's not proven that. And even if he could prove it, is he supposed to just have those people killed? They don't have any sort of due process or rights. They don't get to go to court and have their day. You're just going to bomb them? That's what you're going to do? Well, yeah, that's what he's been doing. Okay. And there was just a 10th strike yesterday in Venezuela. Okay. Then here's how you know. Remember I told you all that someone is in Trump's ear? You all remember I told you that someone is in Trump's ear? Okay. Someone definitely is in his ear, because remember, he came out the other day, and here's how you know, because Trump's very nonsensical, very ignorant, not intelligent at all. He even said that smart people don't like him. Yeah, smart people don't like fools. And that's exactly what he is, in my opinion. But here's how you know that someone's in his ear, because he was talking about having a surge into San Francisco. But the business leaders opposed it, so he pulled back. Okay? Now, basically, a surge is like an overwhelming of an area. Okay, it's a military term. Now, so with that all been said, who in the hell told Trump that? Do you all think that Trump just came up with that himself? Do you think Trump just said to himself, you know what I think I'll do? I'm just going to have a surge in San Francisco. You think he just came up with that? You think he just had that thought in his head and expressed it? Okay, verbally? Or do you think that someone, maybe who looks like this, maybe that's who gave him the idea? What say you? Okay, what say you? Because we can pretty much tell you that I don't think Trump knows anything about what a surge is. Okay, in military context, it's most commonly refers to a rapid temporary increase in military force, operations, or production to meet a specific heightened demand. It can also refer to the ability of the military and defense industry to quickly scale up in response to a crisis, whether through troop deployments or increased production capacity. With that all being said, he wants to do that to San Francisco. Okay, now who put him up to it? Yeah, Stephen Miller, I'm pretty sure. If I had to bet money, that's who I would pick. Because he's the one giving out the orders, even to Hammond, the border czar, even directing him in what to do, allegedly. Okay, D Major Scale said Project 2025. Exactly. They're doing everything they said they would. And Trump sat there and lied through his teeth, talking about he didn't know anything about it. Sure you didn't. Sure you did. And thank you for your insight to the topic and your contribution to the channel, beloved. Peace, love, and blessings. Dario Bird said, and Jared Kushner. Well, I'm so glad you brought him up. Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law. Well, of course, he's in on it. I can only imagine how big his bank account's gotten. And let's not forget that I told you all months ago that Jared Kushner and his father, Charles, are very good friends with Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay, they've been friends with him for years. Jared once told a story about Benjamin Netanyahu coming to the United States and sleeping in his bed when he visited their home. So they're all one big happy family. Okay, this is why Trump is so close with Netanyahu, if you didn't know. This is all a hot mess. But now let's talk about Trump and what people are saying about him and this whole Hitler debacle. Because here's the thing, they got upset. And by they, I mean some of MAGA, the ones that are still, hanging on by a thread, believing in Trump. So they got upset because the actress, Mia Farrow, for those of you who don't know who she is, that's the lady that was married to Woody Allen. Also, she played the lead role in Rosemary's Baby, directed by Roman Polanski. But nonetheless, Mia Farrow came out and she was comparing Trump to Hitler. And they got all upset because they said, oh, it's so ridiculous. She's comparing him to Hitler just because Hitler had a ballroom built and Trump had a ballroom built. That's not the only reason they're comparing Trump to Hitler. But Hitler did have a ballroom that he was building. It never got to completion. But let's talk about it. And let's see if we can perhaps do a comparison. All right. So in 1935, the architect Leonard Gall submitted plans for a large reception hall that could serve as a ballroom to be added to the rear garden side of the old Reich Chancellery. Now, the hall was officially called Festsaal mit Wintergarten, reception banquet hall with winter garden in the garden area. That's basically what that meant. Now, beneath this hall, an air raid shelter, bunker structure, this was all built, known as the Var bunker. Okay. And then there was a forward or upper bunker completed in 1936. Now, with that all being said, the reception hall was intended for formal diplomatic receptions, state functions, and to embody the grandeur of the Greater German Reich. Hitler himself at one point said in January of 1939 that the reason for the large hall was that the Hall of Congresses, no room of sufficient size. That's what he basically said. He said, I had to give a large hall to hold approximately 200 persons, though the actual space was much larger. Now, architect Albert Speer described how Hitler wanted visitors to walk a long path through a sequence of rooms in the Chancellery to reach the reception hall. On the long walk from the entrance to the reception hall, they'll get a taste of the power and the grandeur of the German Reich. Thus, the reception hall or ballroom wasn't simply for entertainment, it was very much part of the regime's image making, projecting power, ceremony, and the Führer's dominance. Do you get what I'm saying? Because that's the same thing that Trump's likely doing. Okay, please pay attention. All right. Now, mind you, the building, old and new chancellery, was heavily damaged in the Battle of Berlin in April of 1945. After the war, many of the remains were demolished by the Soviet occupation administration. The site today, much of it no longer stands. The underground bunker complexes are mostly sealed or buried. The reception hall or the ballroom itself no longer functions as in its original form. It reveals and why was this even interesting to people? Because it revealed how the Nazi regime invested not just in military and ideological power, but architectural spectacles to convey authority. You see, isn't that what Trump's doing? Well, of course it is. All right. The layering of luxury and ceremony, the ballroom with protection underground beneath a bunker. It's very telling of the regime's mindset. Okay. So the hall stands or stood as a physical manifestation of the fusion of state, party, and personality in Hitler's regime. It also shows how architecture was militarized and securitized, and a ballroom with a bunker beneath it. Well, they say that's a mix of display and survival. All right, so I want y'all to pay attention. Now, let me go to Hitler's Chancellery Ballroom. I'm going to share my screen. Like up, everyone, please. Like and share. I tell you, Trump is something else. Okay, and there's the plans right there. So, yeah, so they got all upset because she compared Trump to Hitler. But at the end of the day, doesn't it seem like that's who he wants to be? And this is nothing new. I don't even understand why they're upset. They were trying to say that she's stupid because she's comparing the fact that Hitler wanted a ballroom and Trump wanted a ballroom or wants a ballroom to say that that's a reason to compare them. And they said that's just so stupid. Well, it isn't stupid to me because there's a whole lot of things that they have similarities in. Trump is clearly trying to be like this man. Okay, please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, hold on, let me pull this up. Now, let's take a look at what Trump's up to. Hold on, beloveds. Okay, here we go. All right. Trump plans massive renovation of the White House. And we already saw the mess that he had. Okay, all the demolition going on. He's clearly lost his mind. $250 million when people are out here starving, okay, on the verge of homelessness. And I'm just talking about we're all rich. The only one getting rich is him. And here's the thing. Representative Eric Stilwell came out and Stilwell came out and said that they need to destroy it. Okay? Dem representative issues bold challenge to presidential wannabes. This is what he said. Democratic Representative Eric Stilwell has thrown down the gauntlet, issuing a challenge to any potential Democratic presidential candidates contemplating throwing their name into the ring for 2028. He says, don't even think of seeking the Democratic nomination for president unless you pledge to take a wrecking ball to the Trump ballroom on day one. That's what he said on X Saturday night. Okay? That's what he said. Don't even think about it unless you plan to take a wrecking ball to it. Now, Trump's ballroom, which is expected to dwarf the White House in size and cost north of $300 million, has caused considerable controversy since the president decided to demolish the entire east wing of the White House just in order to build it. Democrats have been quick to condemn the ballroom, with many decrying the destruction of the East Wing and the Jacqueline Kennedy Garden. Chelsea Clinton described Trump as taking a wrecking ball to history. while Patty Davis, Reagan's daughter, called the images of the demolition heartbreaking. I mean, honey, the fact that fool had them pour concrete over the rose garden, like that was just it for me. I'm like, this man has really lost his mind, honey. He is so ghetto and so stupid. Okay, please pay attention. Now, Stalwell has been consistent in condemning the president's destruction and excessive expenditure, posting one day that destruction dressed up as phony greatness is Trump's brand, and literally and figuratively. Donald Trump destroyed the White House. No lies detected. Now, some Democrats have even suggested as potential presidential candidates for 2028 that they need to condemn Trump's renovations. California Governor Gavin Newsom, one of the most vocal and persistent Trump's critics in the party, reposted a photo of the demolition on X and quipped saying, ripping apart the White House, just like he's ripping apart the Constitution. Former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who ran in the 2020 Democratic primary and who some in the party hope will run again in 2028, also criticized the renovations, taking the opportunity to hit out at Trump for not caring about the real problems America's facing, saying what's wrong about what President Trump is doing to the White House ground is it shows that his focus is on building a bigger venue for fancy dinners. When, because of his actual policies, Americans are opening those letters and finding out this week that they're not going to be able to afford their health care next year. He says, my focus right now isn't about historic preservation. It's about what's going on in people's lives. Now, former presidential nominee Hillary Clinton, who lost to Donald Trump in 2016, also condemned the demolition, calling it illegal, and sharing her daughter's essay on the White House for USA Today. Okay, she also debuted new merchandise referencing the construction, including hats that feature an image of the White House, and it read, "Not his house, our house." Okay, honey, Trump's doing more than renovating. He's doing a whole new construction. It's like he's starting it all over the way he wants it to look. Okay, that's how that looks, and just in my opinion. But also, here's another thing to compare Trump to Hitler. Trump literally called his administration a Reich. Okay, a united Reich. All right. So I'm sorry. And Hitler had the Third Reich. So I don't know why they're mad. Trump really is modeling himself after Hitler, or at least that's what it seems.
Social media account shared a video referencing a unified Reich in a post about how the country will change if he becomes president again. His team said that a staff member did not see the word Reich before it was posted. The video was shared on Trump's social media platform, Truth Social, which lost more than $300 million last quarter, according to its first earnings report as a publicly traded company. The screen flashed to a headline which read, "Industrial strength significantly increased, driven by the creation of a unified Reich." Trump spokesperson Caroline Leavitt said the language was not used intentionally. This was not a campaign video. It was created by a random account online and reposted by a member of staff who clearly did not see the word while the president was in court. Donald Trump's social media account shared a video referencing a unified Reich in a post about how the country will change if he becomes president again.
Sorry, you all, I was multitasking. Okay, so I want you all to pay attention. Okay, Byron B said, Reich, now I've seen everything. Have you, beloved? Because there's more. Yeah, he said Reich. That's what he said. That's how he referred to it. But hold on. He also once said that he had a copy of Hitler's book. And then he later denied it, just like he denied having been such good friends and bros with Epstein. Anybody remember that? Let's talk about it, because this is from December 20th of 2023. Donald Trump's history with Adolf Hitler and his Nazi writings. Analysis. Even after backlash, Trump again echoed his words at a campaign rally. Yeah, he says what Hitler has said in the past. So at his campaign rally in Iowa, Donald Trump once again broke new ground, becoming the first leading presidential candidate to find it necessary to insist that he had never read the most famous book of the 20th century. He said, I never read Mein Kampf. This is what he said. Hold on, let's go to the report. Trump needs to stop lying, but he can't because he's pathological with it. He can't stop lying. He cannot stop.
The latest on the race for the White House and former President Donald Trump drawing fire for comments over the weekend attacking immigrants and quoting Vladimir Putin with approval. Rachel Scott is in Washington with more on the reaction from the campaign trail. Rachel, good morning.
Wick, good morning. Former President Donald Trump is holding a commanding lead in this Republican primary, but he is now facing criticism for lavishing praise on dictators and ramping up his attacks on immigrants, using phrases that have clear ties to white supremacy and Hitler. On the campaign trail, former President Donald Trump is drawing big crowds in his swing through early voting states, but coming under fire for these anti-immigrant comments he made in New Hampshire this weekend.
They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done.
That language echoes white supremacists and was used by Adolf Hitler in his autobiographical manifesto, Mein Kampf, where Hitler criticized mixing races, calling it, quote, blood poisoning. Trump has repeatedly used the phrase.
He's disgusting. And what he's doing is dog whistling to Americans who feel absolutely under stress and strain from the economy and from the conflicts around the world. And he's dog whistling it to blame it on people from areas that don't look like us.
If elected, Trump promised to carry out mass deportations, deputizing the National Guard to arrest undocumented immigrants.
I will terminate every open borders policy of the Biden administration, stop the invasion of our southern border, and begin the largest domestic deportation operation in American history.
On the campaign trail, the former president also praising dictators, at one point invoking Russian President Vladimir Putin, using quotes from a top U.S. adversary to attack President Biden.
Vladimir Putin, has anybody ever heard of Vladimir Putin? Of Russia, says that Biden's, and this is a quote, politically motivated persecution of his political rival is very good for Russia because it shows the rottenness of the American political system.
The Biden campaign responding with a blistering statement, writing Trump parroted Adolf Hitler, praised Kim Jong-un, and quoted Vladimir Putin while running for president on a promise to rule as a dictator and threaten American democracy. And Trump's own words turning off some Republican voters.
He takes things to the extremes, and this is part of the drama we're trying to get away from. There's no reason for it.
But the former president is still the far and away frontrunner, ahead of his Republican rivals by 50 points.
He's not afraid to hurt people's feelings, and there's nothing wrong with that. People really need to toughen up a little bit.
Trump, of course, has pleaded not guilty to 91 criminal.
I'm going to stop it right there, but let me tell you something. She said Trump is not afraid to hurt people's feelings and people need to toughen up. That's easy for her to say. And it's also hypocritical because people like her, these MAGA nuts, as I call them, these MAGA, some of them are just doing too much. Okay, these hateful people. She's talking about people need to toughen up, but aren't they the ones that get upset when the truth of history is told? When people talk about Jim Crow and slavery, aren't they the ones that keep complaining about critical race theory because they don't want their children's feelings to get hurt? No, you toughen up, okay? That's what she needs to do. Please make it all make sense. These people are just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so there we have it, another comparison to Hitler. So they can get off Mia Farrow. And even Germany has compared Donald Trump to Hitler. Okay, U.S. election, the German comparing Trump's campaign to Hitler's. Let me tell you what they said. They sent us a message, and some of us should have listened. And I find it interesting, too, that these immigrants who are now complaining, you know, and having buyer's remorse, they heard what that man said. They heard him say that he was going to do the biggest mass deportation in American history. That's what he said, in the history. So why would you vote for him knowing that you're someone who is here undocumented? And even if you are documented, why would you vote for him? Knowing that you have people in your family, okay, who likely are here illegally. Why would you do it? So don't cry now. You should have known better. Now pay attention to this. Because even though I wasn't 100% for Kamala, I darn sure wasn't for Trump. I just didn't care for either of them. So I didn't vote. And I for darn sure wasn't going to vote for Trump and then risk him doing the stuff that he's doing right here and right now and then feel like I need to blame myself. Okay, that's what I wasn't going to do. Now let's talk about it. Dear Americans, go ahead. Vote for the guy with the loud voice who hates minorities, threatens to imprison his opponents, doesn't give a blank about democracy, and claims he alone can fix everything. What could possibly go wrong? Good luck, the people of Germany. Hashtag been there, done that. Why do you think they say they've been there, done that? Because they're talking about Hitler. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention. No lies detected whatsoever. Okay, so anyway, goes on to say a man who compared the Donald Trump campaign to Adolf Hitler's in the 1930s said he's glad to have started one of the most civilized discussions on the U.S. presidential debate. Now, the tweeter, who says his name is Johann Franklin, posted a note to Americans on Friday from the people of Germany asking what could possibly go wrong if they vote for the guy with the loud voice who threatens to imprison his opponents. The note, along with the hashtag I've been there, done that, went viral within hours. It prompted memes equating Hitler with Trump, but there were also criticisms that the comparison was inflammatory. Mr. Franklin, a German citizen who works in San Diego, California, he defended his Dear America note to the BBC. He said, I know the Hitler comparison was pretty crude. It didn't have much to do with Trump himself, rather that regardless of what he said and did, he continued to gather people behind him. Now, I got frightened when trying to talk to Trump supporters within my circle of friends and colleagues, and I started to see parallels to what my grandparents and other folks back home told me about what happened in Germany back in the 1930s. He said when he talked to these other people, that's what he started to hear was parallels. Now, the post went viral after it was shared by Hillary Clinton's supporter. So, with that all being said, I don't see anything wrong with somebody comparing him to this person. Okay? Because at the end of the day, it's clear that's who he wants to be. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. Like stuff, everyone, please don't forget to like and share. Then there was an article where they said the Reich stuff. What does Trump really have in common with Hitler? Comparisons between the ex-president and the 20th century Nazi leader are controversial, but a new book says they resemble each other as political performance artists. So when Trump shared a video that dreamed of a unified Reich, if he wins the presidential election, he wants a unified Reich, and took nearly a full day for him to remove that video. The most shocking thing was now unshocking. The most shocking thing was how unshocking it was. Trump has reportedly said that Adolf Hitler did some good things. He echoed the Yahtzee dictator by calling his political opponents vermin, and said immigrants are poisoning the blood of our country, and responded to a white supremacist march in Charlottesville by claiming that there were fine people on both sides. Now, the Hitler-Trump analogy is controversial. Some of Trump's critics, including Biden's campaign, argue that Trump's incendiary rhetoric and authoritarian behavior justify the comparisons. Well, I have to agree, absolutely. Now, meanwhile, Trump's defenders and even some of his more historically minded critics argue that the comparison is ahistorical and that he's not a true fascist. Now, the former camp now includes Henk de Berg, a professor of German at the University of Sheffield in Britain. The Dutchman, whose previous books include Freud's theory and its use in literary and cultural studies, has just published Trump and Hitler, a comparative study in lying. Y'all hear this? That's the title of the book, and I think I want to read it. Trump and Hitler, a comparative study in lying. So in it, de Berg compares and contrasts Hitler and Trump as political performance artists and how they connect with their respective audiences. He examines the two men's work ethic, management style, and narcissism, as well as quirks such as Hitler's toothbrush mustache and Trump's implausible blonde hair. So, like I said, a whole lot of comparisons. Okay, so please pay attention. Please pay attention. Now let's talk about how Trump was talking smack. Let me see if I can find that video. He was threatening military action to Venezuela. So let's get into that. Lights up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance.
Collection. Okay.
South America and a massive show of military force as the U.S. campaign against the Maduro regime in Venezuela reaches a new high. Tonight, President Trump with a clear message of force in the Caribbean.
We stopped all drugs virtually from coming in by sea. And we'll stop all drugs from coming in by land very shortly.
The Pentagon now sending the Navy's largest aircraft carrier strike group to the region, the USS Gerald R. Ford, nearly doubling the number of U.S. forces there and adding to the B-1 bombers flown near Venezuela's coast this week. The Trump administration has accused Venezuelan leader Nicolás Maduro of heading up the Cartel de los Soles and facilitating the flow of drugs into the U.S., an allegation Maduro has denied.
This is a central hub of terrorist activity across the Western Hemisphere.
The Pentagon says 43 people were killed from at least 10 strikes on vessels they say were carrying drugs, releasing these videos but not providing further evidence. Opposition leader Maria Corina Machado expressed support for the Trump administration's approach.
The position of President Trump and his administration to address this as a national security issue is the correct one.
Para garantizar que
Maduro now saying his regime has more than 5,000 Russian missiles along Venezuela's coast. Tensions also spiking between the U.S. and Venezuela's neighbor, Colombia.
The president of Colombia is a drug dealer.
The U.S. sanctioning Colombian President Gustavo Petro and his family, with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent accusing him of flooding the United States with drugs and poisoning Americans. Petro responding, saying his government has worked hard to fight drug trafficking. And Petro is now on a short list of leaders under U.S. sanctions, including Russian leader Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories.
Now, there has been 10 strikes, a total of 43, almost 50 people dead. And they've not given us any proof or receipts that these people could even committed a crime. They haven't shown us anything. This is absolutely egregious. Okay, somebody needs to make that make sense. Just a darn shame. But anyway, let's continue. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. Now, let's talk about this donor he sends giving him $130 million. Here we go.
Paychecks, federal workers.
By the way, a friend of mine, talking about donors, a friend of mine, a man that's great. I'm not going to use his name unless he lets me do it. Susie can tell you about this, but he called us the other day and he said, I'd like to contribute any shortfall you have because of the Democrat shutdown. I'd like to personally contribute any shortfall you have with the military, because I love the military and I love the country, and any shortfall, if there's a shortfall, I'll contribute it. And today he sent us a check for $130 million. I would love to tell you he doesn't really want the recognition, if you want to know the truth, but he gave us a check for $130 million, which was sort of a shortfall, yeah. And that's going to go to the military, yeah. Is that the correct number? $130 million. That's what I call a patriot.
talking about that's what he calls a patriot. I bet you do. That's what I call money laundering or embezzlement. Okay, who really gave you that money? Where'd you really get it, Trump? From the taxpayers? I have several questions. Anyway, I'm over it. Now tomorrow we're going to get into some more stuff. Some more stuff about Trump and some of the shenanigans he's pulling. Okay, but let's talk about this museum that got robbed, because did you all know that it was reported about an hour ago that there was another museum robbed after the Louvre museum was robbed? It was just like not noticed for days. Did y'all know that? Let's talk about it. Thieves robbed another museum hours after the Louvre heist and wasn't noticed for days. I find it interesting. So another high-profile museum was robbed of thousands of historic coins, okay, just about 10 hours after $100 million was stolen in the Louvre heist, and it went unnoticed for 2 whole days. Workers arrived to the Maison des Lumières Denis Diderot. I know I messed that all up. Museum in Londres on the morning of October the 21st, 2 days after thieves stole $100 million worth of jewelry from the Louvre, according to the BBC. Now, within moments of entering the building, employees discovered a smashed display case and contacted the authorities. Museum workers noted that the stolen coins dated between 1790 and 1840. And made of silver and gold. They were selected with great expertise and were part of the museum's private collection, according to the outlet. I wonder where the museum stole them from. Now, the Sun reported that the break-in actually occurred on the evening of October the 19th, the day before the Louvre heist, while the museum was closed, in fact. Now, since the museum is closed on Mondays, nobody was in the building to notice, okay, until October the 21st. So the combined value of the coins was roughly $104,000, according to the reports. Authorities were unable to comment on whether or not the heist was connected to the previous one, and no information about the possible suspects has been released. Now, this is all crazy. What is going on here? Byron B said, a Catch Me If You Can sequel. Okay? Well, that's what they get. It's nothing but karma, because these people basically stole all this stuff in these museums. That's what they did, at least in the Louvre. Okay, 2 Louvre robbery suspects busted in a $100 million museum heist. One caught in Paris airport trying to flee from France. Let's get into it. So they got caught pretty quickly. One of the suspects, who has not been identified, was busted as he was boarding a flight bound for Algeria at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport. Okay, now they say the men, both in their 30s, and they were from a rough suburb north of Paris known as Seine-Saint-Denis, where they were detained by police as part of the investigation of organized gang robbery and conspiracy to commit crime. Now, police say they were tipped off on Saturday about one of the suspects likely to be flying out of the country, okay, and heading to Algeria in North Africa, and was arrested, okay, at Paris Roissy Charles de Gaulle Airport as he prepared to board a plane. And this is according to the French outlet BFM-TV. The second suspect was arrested shortly afterward in Paris. And I bet you the first one, when he got caught, he probably told where the second one was. Now, they say cops have not yet recovered the stolen jewelry, and that's probably because they already fenced it. Now, the alleged thieves are known by police for past robberies and are believed to have conducted the high-profile heist on commission. Okay, this is what Le Parisien reported. Now, last week, the 4-man crew dressed in yellow vests and motorcycle helmets as they broke into the famed French museum. Using a cherry picker, the thieves scaled the museum's Apollo Gallery and broke into the glass displays using chainsaws as horrified guests looked on. The speedy heist was completed in less than 4 minutes as the thieves slipped in and out, making off with 8 pieces of France's crown jewels worth approximately $100 million. Okay, looted jewelry includes a sapphire a sapphire necklace and single earring set linked to a 19th century Queen Marie. Hold on, these pop-ups. Queen Marie, Amélie, and Hortense. Do y'all hear this? And how much do you want to bet that this jewelry likely came straight from Africa? Okay, likely came straight from Africa where they stole it. I mean, that's just what I would be inclined to think. That's what I would be inclined to think. What do you all say about it? Songwriter Sonny said all they had to do was not be black and white privilege did the rest. Ah, okay. Well, they're busted now. Okay, so let me pick up where I left off. So anyway, goes on to say the looted jewelry included a sapphire diadem, a diadem necklace, and single earrings from a set linked to the 19th century queen. Okay, now the hasty robbers descended back down using the same cherry picker before attempting to burn the bucket truck in the process of their escape as they fled on 2 scooters parked nearby. Now, I'm sorry, this sounds crazy to me. How does this sound to you all? So we're talking about these people went here and stole at least $100 million worth of jewelry, and they used cherry pickers and scooters to get away. Do y'all hear this? This doesn't sound high tech at all to me. Nevertheless, it was enough to get the job done. Okay, so 8 pieces from the collection were stolen in the heist, including a sapphire. Oh, I already read this. Hold on. Okay, so anyway, they go on to say museum officials have since moved the French crown jewels to an ultra-secure Bank of France vault. Now, a preliminary report by France's Court of Auditors set to publish in November found the world's most visited museum had inadequate video surveillance systems in all 3 sections of the famed art exhibit, according to Spanish outlet El País. Do y'all hear this? Inadequate surveillance. Now, hold on. This sounds real sketchy. Why would they have inadequate surveillance in a museum like that with such extravagant and expensive things? They say France's Minister of the Interior celebrated the arrest Sunday morning, holding officials to keep the determination throughout the investigation. He said, I extend my warmest congratulations to the investigators who have worked tirelessly as I requested and who have always had my full confidence. This is what Laurent Nunez said. Now, the investigations must continue while respecting the confidentiality of the inquiry under the authority of the specialized interregional jurisdiction. Okay, it will be with the same determination that we keep going. However, the Paris prosecutor hit out at the media for leaking information about the arrest. So they weren't supposed to say anything, apparently, saying this revelation can only hinder the investigative efforts of the 100 or so mobilized investigators, both in the search for the stolen jewelry and for the perpetrators, all of the perpetrators. It's too early to provide any specific details. This is what prosecutor Laure Bacall said. So, the media doesn't care. They're just trying to get stories out. See who can get the information out there first, okay? So, I'm thinking that because they're talking about the surveillance wasn't up to par or whatever, that sounds like an inside job to me. I'm thinking that maybe someone who worked at the museum gave that information to somebody that they know who does this sort of thing, who engages in heist, and let them know, hey, the surveillance footage is subpar. Okay, we have a very shoddy surveillance video system. So you could easily just come in there and be in and out. Just use a cherry picker. Okay, are they serious? I still can't get past that. They used a cherry picker. All right, and 2 scooters, mind you. Not getaway cars, but scooters. Yeah, just get you a couple of those scooters and a cherry picker, and y'all are in the house. And this is all crazy. But anyway, with that all been said, I'm about to conclude this broadcast. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Now, listen, for those of you who follow or who have members, the Crown Royals, for those of you who are members of the channel, you know that today is Sunday. So we're having True Crime Sundays for members only. That's going to be starting at 6 o'clock. Moderators have already dropped the link. Please drop the link again, moderators, before we close out. Also, please don't forget to double check and make sure that you're still subscribed to the channel, especially if you have not been receiving those notifications. I told you all at least 10 people have emailed me since Friday telling me that they found that they were unsubscribed from this channel. Okay? So with that all been said, I'm out of here. I hope you all enjoy the rest of this day. Don't forget to tune in for the members only live at 6 o'clock. All right, going to be starting in 15 minutes exactly. And I will be on time, so don't tarry. With that all been said, I love you all to life. I hope you enjoy the rest of this evening. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Until next time, peace.
With that flavor all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunsa. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. That's See right. A bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me?